Medium is over. Automation, computerization, outsourcing, and regionalization is going to take over the rest of the world. And do you know what is driving all this? Skill polarization. I know that might sound some heavy words, but this is actually the truth. Now is in this ever-changing world, you need to have a toolbox full of skills. You need to be a generalist and not a specialist to succeed in this world. That is why in this video, I am going to talk about how you can learn any skill and master it than the rest of the competitors, or than the rest of your competitors in a fairly less time frame. So let's get to it. Meta learning means learning about learning. Yeah, it basically talks about making a plan you need in order to get to the destination, in order to learn your skill. So for that, you need to ask yourself three questions. The why do you want to learn that skill? And second is what all information, what all knowledge you need in order to learn that skill. And third question is how are you going to achieve all that information? How are you going to learn all that information and gain the knowledge you need in order to achieve that skill or in order to learn that skill? So let me take my example. Currently, I am learning about AI automation for businesses. So my why is that businesses need AI in order to scale their profit, but they do not know how. So I'm going to tell them and also help them automate their whole business. So this is my why. And my what is what all the knowledge I need in order to achieve, in order to learn AI automation. So for example, I'm going to learn about LLMs, large language models. Then I want to learn about RAG. Then I want to learn about QLoRa or fine tuning a model and stuff like that in order to become an AI automation engineer. So this is my what, and my how will be that I'll buy courses on Udemy or Skillshare, or I'll watch YouTube videos and I'll practice it by doing projects, local projects for my friends and family. So this is how you make a plan to achieve that skill. Now that you have made a map, the problem that most people face is starting out. Many people make maps, many people make plans, but how many of them do you think actually do that task? Very less. The first problem people encounter is getting started out. Well, you see, when you are starting the task, you feel an aversion towards the task. You do not like to do the task, and you feel an attraction towards other things like watching your phone or watching television or watching your favorite series. Well, when that happens, I suggest that you sit down for a couple of minutes. Say you set an alarm for 5 minutes and you sit down and do that task even if you do not want to. Well, 5 minutes is a very less time for you to do something even if you hate it. After 5 minutes, you will see that you want to continue doing the task and you do not feel an aversion, you do not dislike the task so much as you did before starting out. This corresponds with the Newton's first law of motion, which states that an object at rest wants to remain at rest and an object at motion wants to remain at motion unless acted upon by an external force. Well, in this case, external force might be the scolding of your mother or father. Well, at this stage of life, this is not possible, and that is why your mind, you should be your external force that motivates you to get started. The second problem is sustaining that focus. Well, it is nice that you have gotten started, but the real obstacle is sustaining it. That happens because of the distractions you have around yourself. There are mainly three types of distraction. First is your environment. Your environment may include that you have put distracting noises around yourself, distraction phone notifications. So I suggest that before starting out, you should get ready with all the things you require so that you do not have to roam while doing the task and you are able to focus all your energy on that task. The second is the task itself. Well, you see, you should choose that source of learning from which you do not get distracted easily. I do not like to read books very much because after a few minutes of reading it, I black out. I experience reading hypnosis. Well, that is why I choose to learn via online courses and YouTube videos. But you should choose that source which you find way less distracting. Your task may also be too easy or too hard for you, and that is why you're not able to rightly focus on it and you get distracted. The solution to that is choose the task that is most challenging for you. Well, not an adequate level of challenging, because if it is an adequate level of challenging, you'll enter into a state of flow, an achievable state where all your focus is on that task and you do not think about anything else. This is a state where you maximize your efficiency. But believe me, it is not. Because when you are learning something, you need to stretch your mind out of your comfort zone, and then only will you be able to grasp. When you are in a perfect state, you can do the task at hand very nicely, very efficiently, but you will not be able to learn as efficiently as you do outside of your comfort zone. The third distraction source is your mind. Well, you see, it is possible that you may have gotten into some sort of fight and you are feeling anger, or you are sad, or you are feeling depressed. Well, when these negative emotions enter your mind, you do not want to do the task at hand and you keep thinking about that negative emotion. And it is very natural that you do not want to do your task at that particular time. Well, when that happens, I suggest that you still do the task even if you think that it is not going to be as effective. I agree, it is not going to be as effective, but still doing something is better than not doing it. And it will also not break your momentum. The third problem is getting the right kind of focus. Well, you see, we all have a particular mental alertness at any point of time. You need a particular range of mental alertness that is best suitable for learning that particular thing. For example, you are reading a book. This requires a less level of mental alertness than usual. And after sleeping, you have a less level of mental alertness. And after sleeping, when you read that book, you'll be able to grasp the contents better as compared to a high mental alertness. When you come from partying, you'll not be able to grasp as much as you did because that range of mental alertness is not there. Research say that you learn better when you are actually doing that particular thing. Schools and universities have taught us that in order to learn something, you need to consume content and then do that stuff. I think that is what everybody thinks, that first learn and then do. Well, in reality, this is actually the worst approach to learning something. You need to learn while doing. And there are 4 ways to do this. The first is project-based learning. So while you are currently learning, you are doing a project side by side in order to validate your learnings, and also you do some minor adjustments in the real life when you are doing that stuff. So you are actually learning all the key points which you will not be able to grasp when you are only taking the course. It is basically that when you are learning something, you think everything is good and everything is fine, but when you are actually doing that thing, you understand that this is where I am lacking. And when you do that project-based learning, you are able to fix that. The second is immersive learning. You immerse yourself into the experience. So for example, you are learning a particular language. The best way, according to you, should have been that you learn from a dictionary and then apply it, or you learn from an app and then do slight learning for 6 to 7 months before you are an expert at it. But research say that the best way to learn is actually going and doing it. So in case of language learning, for example, you are learning German. So you actually talk to German people. You talk in German all the time. But get this, it is actually helpful. You will not be able to speak any German, but by trying and trying and trying, you will get better at it. And this betterment is actually way better. The third is learning while simulation. Now, for example, you need to learn how to fly an airplane. You can use simulations where all the cognitive aspects of the skills are being simulated. Let me give you another example of this. For example, you are preparing for a competitive exam. You'll have mock tests to ensure that you are learning in the right way. Well, that mock test should cover all the cognitive aspects you'll be facing during the actual examination. The fourth tactic is the overkill approach. You increase your challenge so much so that you have no option other than to become great at it. And I agree that this approach is not best for everyone, because people have a limit of being stretched, because your mind is also like a muscle. So only those people should apply it who think that they have the capability of getting stretched so much. So for example, here in India there are two exams, JEE and NEET. Physics and chemistry overlap in both of the examinations, but in NEET, physics and chemistry have a little less level of questions than the JEE level. And what NEET students are advised is that do not practice the questions from JEE. Well, I do not agree to this at a certain level, because, well, when you are practicing physics and chemistry for NEET, the syllabus is the same for JEE, only the type of questions being asked is different. So JEE has a higher level of the questions being asked. And when you practice from JEE questions, you're opening your mind to new possibilities and you are thinking in a broader way, and that actually helps with your learning. Well, it is not always possible that you learn something. You need to isolate some parts of it. Think of learning as a chemical reaction. Now what happens is that usually a reaction is consisting of various steps, and one of the steps is the rate determining step. It is usually the slowest, but it is the most important in the reaction. Similarly, you have to break down your learning into various sub-skills. If you remember, in step 1, meta learning, I told you that you have to figure out what sub-skills you need in order to master that particular skill. In drill approach, you isolate that sub-skill and work on them specifically, and then input that in your whole learning reaction by doing the direct approach. And then you will see that you are able to use that corrected approach when you have worked on the skill specifically. So direct, then drill, then direct. So to conclude, the 4 steps you need to take in order to learn something faster than your competitors is: the first is meta learning, making a plan on how you're going to achieve that skill. The second is focus and getting started the right way and sustaining it like others cannot do, actually following your path. The third is direct approach, learning from doing. The fourth is the drill approach, isolating specific aspects of your learning and working on it specifically in order to improve the whole thing. So on this note, I would like to end today's video. I hope you found this content valuable. Stay tuned for the next video where I'm going to talk about how you can remember the things you have learned more effectively. Write in the comment section below if you have some valuable feedback for us to improve on next time. Thank you and have a wealthy life ahead.